Welcome. This is the Public Works Podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman. And today I got a real treat for you. His name is Ray Brown, and he is the Drainage and Wastewater System Maintenance Division Director at Seattle Public Utilities in beautiful, sunny Seattle, Washington. Ray, say what's up to everybody.
Man, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it, Joseph. It's good to be here. Unfortunately, it is not sunny today.
Dang it. It's not one of the 2 sunny days. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think we are expecting some sunny days. It has been fairly dry this summer and coming into fall. That sunshine is continued to extend a little bit. So
okay. Gotcha. So talk to me. Drainage and Wastewater System Maintenance Division Director. That's a long title, but think about your title. It kind of speaks to something that we would know. Like, it's not just some random, non-descriptive title. So give us a description of what you're over and then what you actually do.
Yeah. So my division consists of about 153 people, including myself. We're broken up into 4 sections, if you will, that are managed by section managers. And so what they do, let me start this way. Most people understand or know the Space Needle, right? Have you heard of the Space? Okay, the Space Needle, the big tower there.
Yep.
So our staff, we basically like that area right there is our border between our North District and our South District. So we've got 2 district crews that kind of handle our bread and butter of the work, which is making sure that our sewer lines are clean and inspected. Our drainage systems are clean and inspected. We're pumping catch basins with what we call vectors, cleaning lines. Like the vectors is, just think of it's a big vacuum on wheels like that. That is essentially, that's our bread and butter tool for a lot of the things we do. And so maintaining our conveyance system, which I think we've got around 2,000 miles of pipe. And so
wow,
if you were to take that on a map and stretch it out from Seattle east, like along I-90, it would stretch, clear into the Wisconsin, Minnesota borders, right? That's
wow.
It's quite a big feat when you consider all of our pipe conveyance system. But so, there's that pumping catch basins, maintaining our pipe repairs. So, our folks will go out and they'll break the ground, dig down as deep as 20 feet plus or minus a few, and we'll get access to our sewer pipes and repair them. We do lining, which is basically throwing in a hard liner inside the pipe to give that pipe more structural integrity and help prevent exfiltration and infiltration, things of that nature. I think that's kind of us in a nutshell. So our North and South District crews, and then we have our all city crews. So we have an all city crew that does emergency response. It's broken into 3 shifts, day, swing, and night. So we're 24/7. They handle a lot of our emergency response calls, whether it's ponding in the street or somebody's property is backing up. So we'll respond and inspect our system to make sure that our system isn't the cause of any of those issues. And then we have kind of our rehab lining section, which I just explained. They'll be out there in the right of way, breaking up the street, getting access to pipe, or less intrusive, they will be installing liners to maintain or extend the life of the pipe.
Man, you guys do it all. It's the city of Seattle. What's the population of Seattle?
Oh shoot, man. Gosh, it is. I want to say we are.
Are we at 1 million? Yeah. Okay.
2 million.
Yeah. Okay.
Million.
And 2,000 miles of pipe. That's a lot. 150 people. You said emergency calls. I kind of want to dive deeper into that because usually we hear at smaller cities, smaller agencies, that the normal, let's say, beat workers or the normal workers throughout the day shifts, they rotate on an on-call schedule for the emergency calls. You guys have a separate crew for emergency. There's 3 shifts for that. Tell us why that is, and I mean, aside from this, it being the size of Seattle, the scope, but like why you have 3 shifts and kind of what their activities are like how
Yeah.
active they are.
So we do have the 3 shifts. We also do have a standby crew. Um, but essentially, man, it's there's a number of factors. I think the expectation of the community has changed, right? They want more access to frontline workers, right? Either through social media or when we're out there doing the work, they want to know what's going on, or they're wanting to know more about response times and when we're going to get out there. And so, in just being a larger city, there's a whole host of problems that we deal with. You know, the ponding issues are huge. Climate change is a factor, right? So we're getting more of these what they would call 25-year, 30-year storms. They seem to be happening more frequently
Yeah, every other year is a 30-year storm. Yeah.
every other year, right? And so we have to be staffed to be able to support that.
Yeah.
Voids in the street. Our division is responsible for basically first response for any voids, until we've proven that it's not a drainage and wastewater issue. And so to be able to meet that demand, we have to be available 24/7. And then as part of that, we have a commitment to be able to respond to the emergency issues within 1 hour. So within 1 hour of the call coming in, we need to be on site. Address that
Wow.
issue. Yeah. And then you have lesser issues, but they're still important. We call those urgent, not emergency, but they're urgent. And then we call those priority aids. We have 48 hours to get out there and respond to those calls. Um, but you never really know
Interesting.
where an investigation is going to take you. So you gotta have good people on call
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah, it's interesting how I would say the public persona of like the demand of the municipal government is kind of changing how we operate. I mean, I would say I don't know when you guys started it, but the push to be first responders in our industry is been there. I would say it's more prevalent today, and it's cool to hear that there are set aside teams that do first respond in this capacity, which is, I mean, it's refreshing to hear that. So thanks for answering that. Um,
Absolutely.
let's dive a little bit into Ray Brown's backstory. The myth, the legend. The lore. You didn't
Yeah.
pop up one day. Being the drainage and water wastewater system maintenance division director. So give us your career path. So somebody who might be just entering in the industry, they can mimic their career path off of yours. So let's say high school to today.
Yeah. There's definitely some myths for sure. You know, man, graduated high school, went into college right out of high school, and after my first year, I kind of figured out that wasn't for me, at least at that time. I was the first in my family to go to college, and so I felt kind of this pressure to, hey, yeah, I'm gonna see it through. And so, anyway, after my first year, kind of came back home and was like, hey, I'm gonna yeah, I'll go to school, I'll do some night stuff. Like, yeah, I'll keep it going. Reality, I mean, I wasn't keeping it going. So I got into this apprenticeship program. It's the construction craft laborers apprenticeship program, just general construction stuff. I think it was 19 at the time, and so I'm trying to do that, learn a trade, and trying to go to school at night. But like I said, really not going to school. Grades were going down, um, but was learning how to provide value. Um, you know, I did uh, concrete formwork, building high rises, heavy highway construction, asphalt paving. The traffic control for that. Just did a number of things that helped build confidence in myself. Um, and I remember one day on the job, we were pouring concrete for a building, and I'm vibrating the concrete, okay, vibrating the concrete, and then the vibrator was frayed, and it shocked me, right? So anyway, it shocked me. I'm upset. I'm frustrated, looking around, and just like, man, what am I doing? And I see this guy walking by. He's got a white hard hat. He's clean. You know, as a laborer, man, we're always getting yelled at, and we need to hustle. We need to go. Nobody's yelling at this guy. Nobody's yelling at this guy. So I'm wondering, who, you know, what is he doing? And so anyway, over the next couple of days, I built up the courage, you know, to go talk to this guy. He's got his plans laid out. He's got a tape measure, and he's kind of pointing, and he's kind of measuring. And so I'm like, hey, like, what do you do? Like, what is it that you're doing? Because we didn't have anything built yet. It was still just the structure. And he says, well, I'm the electrician. I said, oh man, well, you know, how'd you do that? You know, how do you get into that? And he walks me through the process and says, you know, hey, are you good at math? And I'm like, I'm not really great at math. You know, growing up in school, you don't really, well, at least for me, I didn't really pay attention to math.
Yeah.
Couldn't understand what, you know, how that provides value.
Yeah.
Couldn't connect the dots. Anyway,
100%.
so he's walking me through the process, and you know, says, hey, this is how you apply. This is going in right into just prior to 9/11. Okay. And so anyway, I go in, I take this test. There's all kind of math questions. Some of it seems like rocket science, man. And anyway, submit my application. And then 2 years later, like, you know, I get this opportunity, which is great because it allowed me to continue to work as a laborer and gain skill and experience and just work ethic, right? Just learn how to show up, go to work, be a professional. So then I get into the electrical trade, and man, from there, like that just provided a total, like a completely new perspective on education and like math and how that, like, for the first time ever, I saw the value of math and how math can help me do my job better, which then in turns allowed me to provide more value and then receive more value. You know, getting more pay by being able to do my job better by understanding math. And so um, got into the electrical apprenticeship, you know, got my electrical license, my electrical administrator's license, graduated, became a journeyman, and started running work. And then eventually, you know, there's an opportunity to get into the public sector. I had an uncle that worked for Seattle Public Utilities, and he had made me aware of they call it a TES opportunity, a temporary employment service, right? So there was a vacancy, and they were looking to get somebody in, right? And so I figured, what the heck, man? Like, you know, I've always kind of wanted to get into public service.
Why is that? And how did you know about it? Because most people don't know about the public side if they're on the private side.
You know what, man? I wouldn't have known about it if it wasn't from my uncle. When he got a job working in a different side of SPU, or doing a different type of work, but he had always done well for himself, and he had always had pride in working for the city that he was born in, right? And so me looking up to him, I had that same feeling, like, man, I want to serve my community, right? I want to work in some of these same areas that I got memories of as a child, right? Those kind of things, and so seeing that opportunity for me was a no-brainer, because like I already had this, you know, I had the skill set of an electrician, and worked as a laborer, so I knew I could go back to that if this didn't work out. But got in as a TES, and waited for a permanent opportunity, and then eventually got in as a pump station electrician. And so I was one of eight pump station electricians. Man, when I got that job, man, I was so pumped. Like every day, I would think to myself, like, man, I'm one of eight in the city that gets to do what I do, right? It was just dope, and it feels good, because with your hands, your skill set, and your mind, you're able to solve problems, get pump stations back online, pumps running, so that way, you know, sewer and drainage is flowing and all those things, and you just, you know, felt really good about that. But anyway, as my career progressed as an electrician, then other opportunities started to become available. We A new group had opened up called centralized planning and scheduling. It was basically a planning and scheduling group that was responsible for planning and scheduling the maintenance for the folks that were out there doing the work. Um, and so, that's a whole story in itself, but, making a long story semi-short, got in as a planner, and then eventually got opportunities to work in an out of class or temporary role as a supervisor, then became a permanent supervisor in planning and scheduling, and then continued to get more responsibility. And then eventually became a manager, and over the course of that time, really learned how to be a leader or how to work with people, and build a program or build a system. And then I think after 8 or 9 years in planning and scheduling, uh, then there was an opportunity that I competed for to become the operations manager, the operations manager for the watershed, which is east of Seattle, up in the mountains, and that's where all of our drinking water comes from, which was a great experience. But within a year of being the watershed operations manager, there was another opportunity to compete for the role that I'm in now as the division director for drainage and wastewater system maintenance, and so I've been in this role for the past 3 years, and it's been great. It's been extremely challenging. I think who I was 3 years ago is definitely not who I am today, for sure. But yeah, one thing just kind of led to another, man. But I've always had the intent to provide value, continue to grow, help others grow with me.
Yeah, there's a couple things I wanted to kind of park on in your career path. I need you to give advice to some of those who are transitioning from, let's say, the operations side, being out there doing the work with their hands, to being a manager, being a supervisor, working with more so people than equipment or products. I know it's something that it probably wasn't learned overnight for you, but can you help those who are like, man, I'm trying to go for the supervisor position. I've been, banging my knuckles all my life, and now I got to do this thing with management.
Yeah, I think it really starts with a willingness to want to get to know people. Um, I think it starts there. And one of the things, I don't remember who said this, but it always stuck with me. When you get into supervisor roles, or roles where you're leading people, um, you always talk about the responsibility, and I would hear people say, well, I'm responsible for this, or I'm responsible for these folks. And I've always looked at it from the perspective of, I'm not responsible for, but I'm responsible to these folks. Because I think when you're looking to get into supervision, you need to think about yourself first, and what are you bringing to the table, right? How are you preparing yourself to be able to lead people in a particular field or area? Sure, it does really help to have an understanding of the area, the technical aspects of the work, but the most important piece, man, is just being ready to lead and be able to handle people problems. Um,
Yeah.
usually the work itself is fairly straightforward, right? It's the people side of the business, and so I think that's where, if you have the intent to want to get to know people, and help people grow, and also be willing to allow others to help you grow, that mentorship piece goes both ways. One of the things I like to tell my folks is I'm committed to getting it right, not being right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, I think for folks that are looking to make that jump from being a individual contributor, um, to being a supervisor, yeah, it's preparing your mindset for that. It's not about coming in and being able to tell people what to do. I think, in reality, like you do get more responsibility, but you kind of get less freedom, for yourself. I mean, you're always thinking
Yeah.
about, um, so yeah.
Okay, okay. You also said, and I wanted to, bring this up, building confidence in yourself. And of course, I'm passionate about this with young men coming into the industry, but it can be women alike. You get to your first assignment, you're on the yard. There's guys that have been there for 15, 20 years, and you got to keep up. You remember what that's like. You're not too far removed from those moments, and you're just
Yeah.
like myself in any moment, any type of arena. So what are some things that somebody could do to grab that competency, or even just like not let it spook you, not let it freak you out, and let you show up the next day with your chest out, your chin up, and keep working at it until you get it.
Yeah, I think one, it starts with having some humility and understanding what you know and what you don't know. I kind of got a story for that. So when I was making the transition from being a construction laborer and going into being an electrician, two completely different fields, two completely different mentalities. I had came in to being an electrician with the mentality of being a laborer, which was, I'm trying to knock this out. Let me get this done, right? And so, as an apprentice, I had a journeyman electrician, and call him DQ, and he would give me these assignments, right? Hey, I need you to grab some conduit, grab some half-inch conduit, and run it from this box and run it over here, right? Or I need you to install this unit up here, and I would go and get it done, right? I'd go and get it done as fast as I could, and here I am thinking I'm knocking it out, like I'm running circles around these guys. And we were working on it was a bank, Washington Mutual Tower, right off of Lake Union. This is probably sometime, I think it's late fall. And I remember because it, kind of gray out, and you could feel the wind just cutting in off of Lake Union, man. And it's still a concrete structure. Hands are cold, and anyway, he brings me into this. We'll call it a shack, a plan shack, and this is where we would have lunch. This is where we would go over the plans and those kind of things. And so we're sitting down having lunch, and DQ looks at me and he says, "Hey man, I don't think this is going to work for you. So you might want to try this." And he hands me this application to a fast food restaurant, and and so I'm sitting there, right? So I'm not, like you said, keeping up. I now I'm learning I'm not keeping up.
Yeah.
And so he says this, and I remember, man, this lump forming in my throat. Like, this is the first time in my life that my work ethic and the quality of my work has ever been questioned, right? And so in my mind, a couple of things were going on. One was, man, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, right? Like pushing back, right? My pride kicking in and wanting to push back, or it's like, well, man, this guy is pretty sharp, like he's well respected. He obviously knows something I don't. Maybe I need to humble myself, right, and go that route. But I got, like, I'm a young adult. I got bills that need to be paid, right? And this guy's telling me I ain't gonna cut it in this profession. I ain't got no plan B. I don't want to go back to where I was. I'm trying to move forward. And so I look at DQ and I say, what do I got to do? What do I got to do? And he says, well, first, I never see you with a pen and paper. You don't write anything I tell you down, right? And so I'm having to go back behind you constantly and fix the stuff you're putting up, right? You're running conduit in people's way. They can't get their sheetrock behind it, right? The box ain't mounted right, all these different things. Um, and then he says, and you know, like, when I tell you we're getting ready to go connect the transformer, you should be in the code book the day before, right? Or a couple of days before, reading the code. You're an apprentice, understanding what the code requirements are for the transformer, right? So that way you know what size wire we're going to be using to connect up to it. And so I started taking notes, and going through the apprenticeship. I've got the apprenticeship's work, and I got DQ. I got my journeyman's work. Um, And man, over time, over the next 6 months to a year, like I actually am starting to run circles around folks and thinking like a professional, thinking like a journeyman or a journey level electrician, right? Thinking ahead, thinking as a partner, not an apprentice with my journeyman.
Yeah.
And so really, man, it's just, I think it's learning how to be a professional. It's putting in the work before you do the work. Um, you think about athletes, right? They don't just show up and play the game, man. I mean, they're preparing
For
to be
years. Yeah.
right for years. Um, and so that was really when I learned how to be a professional and how I started to connect like what I would do in sports, right, as a kid to, oh, well, shoot, a lot of that applies as a professional, right? But you just don't do it. Well, that was big for me, man, of being able to catch up, keep up and then get ahead. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's a lesson that I've taken with me in every role.
Ah,
Um,
sure.
you talked about a supervisor. As soon as I got my opportunity to be a supervisor, one of the first things I did was create a roadmap. And so in my mind, it was okay, if I'm going to be responsible to a group of people to move our team in a direction, like I better be able to come up with some sort of roadmap or plan. Maybe it don't have to be right, but I better be able to come up with something, right, to be able to bring to the table, and then we can adjust as we go. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I appreciate you telling that story. That's I think a lot of us kind of get hit with that realization in life that like, we got to put into another gear. Like what we've been doing to get here isn't going to take us to the next level. So I appreciate that's a kick in the butt for everybody for sure, myself included. Um, for your current position, drainage and wastewater system maintenance division director, what would you say is the main skill set that helps you be successful? Like if you're mentoring somebody and they say, what should I get good at? What should that one skill set be?
Man, it's never just one thing, but I would say definitely a willingness to know people, like I mentioned. And then in my role, for me, it's somebody said this really well, but it's thinking in terms of systems, right? Thinking in terms of systems and how things go together, how things work or should work in harmony. Um, and so, an example of that would be, we were looking at our SOPs and kind of revitalizing our internal training program for some of the work that we do. And but then one of the things we have to do, one of the things I need to do in my role is understand how that's going to impact our current productivity, right? How that's going to impact some of the things that we want to do in our roadmap. Is there opportunities to help our workers or our leads become mentors and grow in those areas with the training, so that way they're in a position to be supervisors next. How is this going to help us become more efficient with getting work done in the field? How is this going to impact some of our commitments to our stakeholders? How does this impact things from a labor perspective with our labor management folks, right? In our labor management conversations. But it's thinking how, it's just thinking about how one thing fits in with the whole. That's a constant thing, being able to understand the impacts and or consequences.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I need a story from Ray when something went wrong under your watch, what you did to fix it, and then what lessons you learned from it to apply to your future career.
Oh man. I'm gonna give you a real one. And this happened in the role that I'm currently in. So when I started this job, I I made the right decision, but I did it the wrong way and under inaccurate assumptions. And so one of the things I did when I came into this job is I leveraged I used some information from a previous role to make a decision on a work group. And basically, we had decided to take this work group and integrate it into our emergency response group. Okay, but what I used to inform that decision was some of it was hearsay or things that I thought I knew but maybe really didn't. Um, and what I didn't do was take the time to talk to my team that I have now, right? To really spend time getting their perspective. It was something that they had already thought about, but the reasons that I went about it were wrong. And so what that did was it created a lot of work for me because in that moment as a new supervisor and I'm coming in with these assumptions and I'm making quick changes, it creates trust issues, right? One, it makes it I'm not like I talked about being humble, having humility. What that shows is, man, I'm coming in and I already got the answers, right? I don't know what you guys been thinking the past, 5 years, but man, I already got the answers in the first 30 days. Um, and I don't really value what you have to say, right? So what that took having some hard conversations, man. I had to have some hard conversations and then be able to admit that, yeah, that was probably a short-sighted decision, or at least the way that I went about that decision was short-sighted. Um, and then taking steps to make sure that that doesn't happen again, right? So just making sure that you're including everybody in the decisions. You're looking at it from the different angles, like I just told you, understanding systems. I didn't know that. I didn't think about that day one in this job. I was used to, in my previous roles, because I spent so much time there, of being not only a leader in the group, but also being a subject matter expert and seeing all the angles, right? And so stepping into a new role, your ego, or at least my ego, still wanted to be that, right? Not understanding that, and now you're starting from scratch, brother, right? And
That's tough. Yeah.
it's tough, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that how I made it right was one, humbling myself and saying, hey, man,
Yeah.
yeah, I went about that the wrong way. Um, let's make it right. So,
Yeah.
and you got to do, if you say you want to make it right, then you got to make it right, which means going about decisions like that in a better way, making sure you're having conversations with your key team members and making sure that their input is valued, and that you're making the decision together.
Sure. And to kind of double click into that story a little bit more, one thing, and I learned this also, is that I would say it's easy, or not easy, but it's easier for us to say to, I would say, our subordinates, hey, I messed up. Because again, I'm still the boss, pretty much still whatever I say goes, even though I might have messed up. How do you go to the people that you report to, maybe your boss, and tell them like, yo, I messed up? Because it's a different, you get it, it's different dichotomy, dynamic, tone. So how
Yeah,
do you navigate the two?
yeah. So, you know what? Like I told you, um, I want to get it right. I don't want to be right, and I mean that, and I've always been that way. Um, and so, whenever I make a mistake, like it's sometimes you have to show me I made a mistake. But when I do, and hey, absolutely, I'm wrong. But so with how do I deal with that with my superiors? Man, I'm upfront and honest. Like my boss, like she's placed a lot of trust in me with this role, right? I mean, it's a huge opportunity for me with a lot of responsibility, and so I owe it to her to be transparent about my mistakes, whether she's going to know about them or not. Because there's also an opportunity for mentorship there. If I don't let her in on some of my issues, well, then she can't mentor me. She can't guide me, right? She can't help me learn from those mistakes. And then it also potentially creates a trust issue. Well, why didn't you give me a heads up on that? Why didn't you tell me about this, right? So, I mean, I believe in being as transparent and honest as you can. In these roles, sometimes you have things you can't share, right? For various reasons, because it's not about you, it's about someone else. But with my supervisor, I can tell her about all my mistakes, right? And I owe that to her.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What does Ray do intentionally to get better year after year? You say you've been in this position for about 3 years. What are you going to do for over the next 3 years that it's going to continue to put new information into your brain so you can operate more efficiently?
Man, I think I've got a pretty good system. One of the things I do to get ready in this role is usually I work out in the morning, man. So my day starts at about between 6 and 7. I usually get here about 5:45. Hit the
Okay.
gym, right? Hit the gym.
Do you have a
Uh,
gym at the office?
yeah, we got a gym at the office.
Nice. So
Uh,
what's your split? You hitting upper 3 times a week, lower 0 times a week? Talk to me.
you know what, man? My thing is I keep it moving, man. I'm just moving.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Whether it's squats, whether it's a bench press, whether it's on the treadmill, it don't matter. Just
Yep.
get the blood flowing. I try not to waste time trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm not about that,
I'm with you.
right? I'm just trying to maintain and I'm trying to get my mind right. But
Yeah.
um but what I've done leading up to this, man, is I just, I've got a handful of certifications, and I don't really talk about those because they're not about the certifications. It's about who you become after, for getting for or going through the process of getting the certifications. What you learn and how that helps you grow. And so, I'm always trying to learn something new. Sometimes the certification is just kind of the carrot at the end of it. Um, but I think you know that's actually been one of the questions I've been asking myself. Over the years, I got my bachelor's degree at age 37. Right, I went back to school and did that whole thing, and weekends and all that, which is great because that opened up, a lot of other doors for me. Um, I think over the next 3 years, man, um, I I wanna learn how to do this job better. I want to learn how to be an executive better, an executive leader. I feel like I'm like in 3 years in, I'm getting to the point to where I'm at even, right? I'm kind of at zero now. I think there was a point where I felt like maybe I was in the negative. Probably not. I mean, we've gotten a lot of good work done, and I'm pretty hard on myself. Try to be honest with myself, but so I'm looking at things like, or I'm reading books like Never Split the Difference, which is okay, with Chris Voss,
Yeah.
right? Just
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to
Negotiation.
learn,
Yeah.
yes, negotiate, and not necessarily to negotiate, but to just learn the finer art of conversation, of relationship. Some of it is negotiation, right? But just trying to get better in that realm of things. Continue. Yeah, so just reading a lot of books.
Yeah.
I've looked at some classes. I've taken a couple courses here and there. Yeah, just continuing to grow, man.
Sure. Sure. What would you say is the biggest misconception about what you do? Like, let's say you're at a dinner party, and of course, Ray, what do you do? And you answer the question. You say, I'm a drainage and wastewater system maintenance division director at Seattle Public Utilities.
Yeah,
I'm sure you don't say it like that, but you get what I'm saying. You
yeah.
tell them what you do. What do you think they think you do?
Um, I think they would probably think that I'm telling people what to do all day, right? That would be my guess, and that couldn't be further from the truth, man. Um, I think yes, one of my most important responsibilities is protecting the culture, right, of our division, and helping our division prepare for for whatever's next. But I do that by just cultivating relationships, having conversations, um, getting people together to think ahead. Um, uh, yeah, that's, I mean, but a lot of it isn't, man, I got capable people, right? So I don't really have to tell a lot of people, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's more conversations and we're building this thing together. I do spend a lot of time thinking about risks and impacts, consequences. But yeah, most of my job, if I'm doing it right, like I'm doing things that are going to impact us a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, right? Not today or not this week, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. You said the word culture. I I've heard the working definition of culture is like what they say or think about you when you're not in the room, or what they, if you're not present. Um, what would the person who I guess just left your division say about the culture, and then how has Ray been able to, I guess, drag it out of the dumps or bring it into the light to where it's a culture that you're proud of and that you can hang your hat on?
You know, I I don't think that I've needed to bring this culture out of the dumps or into the light. Well, in some respects, maybe into the light, because I think there was a lot of good things about this division that were here before I got here, and that are still an important part of what we do. But man, I think they would say that that we've got that we're like a family, almost in every sense of the word, right? Like sometimes we fight, right? Sometimes we don't always get
Family's
along,
gonna be family, yeah.
right? Family won't be family, but we find a way to get it done.
Mhm.
We are proud of what we do. Um, we really care about the work that we do, and I think we care about each other, and I think that always shows up um, when there's something going on from the outside that's attacking something from within. Then everybody kind of binds together, right? So,
That's true. True.
uh, but yeah, no, we have a lot of great qualities. I'm really excited about the future of our division. We've got some strong up and coming leaders that are going to take this to the next step. Um, and we've got some great leaders with us now that are helping usher us into the next phase. So
Yeah. One thing I've really focused on is the silver tsunami, or bringing in a workforce that may have never known about the industry collection side of water, wastewater. You came from the electrical side. Your uncle was in the industry, and that was kind of your like, hey, this thing could be
yeah,
pretty fruitful for you. So what have you seen or what have you done that has been able to grab some of those youngsters who they might have been in other industries to bring them aboard, and then also get them going, get them competent, and get them in the right direction?
yeah. One of the things that's really cool, and that I like being a part of is we have an apprenticeship program. We have an apprenticeship program for drainage and wastewater collection workers. And so we get we're bringing a lot of those folks in, having minimal experience in what we do, which is great. We also, it seems like twice a year, we meet with some of the youth. Like here we have the Duwamish Valley Youth Corps, and so they'll come by our building, and we'll talk to them about about a career in public service and in collection work, and show them some of what we do, so they can get some exposure to it and give them an opportunity to ask questions. And then we have our, I think it's called the student SYEP, student youth employee program, something like that. Or folks that are either that I think they're in college, interns, and so they'll come by, and we'll have conversations that way to plant seeds. And I've also had an opportunity to show up at some of Seattle public, our Seattle public schools, and talk about what we do to the youth, which is great.
What's usually the reception? You start talking about Vector trucks and 2,000 miles of what, like, do they even?
Man, so to be real with you, I don't think a lot of that resonates. Yet I think with some of our youth, what does resonate is when you start talking about, hey, what our W-2s look like at the end of the year, right? And you start talking about
Talk
that,
to me, baby. Yeah.
right? And then so when you start talking about that, and then what you can make with overtime and whatnot, then that kind of perks their interest a little bit.
I
There,
respect that.
and that's the majority. There are some out there though that like they know what they want, right? And they're
Mm,
maybe it's to get into the program, and they're taking those steps to set themselves up for success. Man, those are the folks that that are easy to root for and pretty impressive.
sure, sure. Let's say you're commissioned to put up a billboard, and this billboard is in the most trafficked area of Seattle. What ask of your community in regards to the collections, the sewer maintenance, division, would you put on this billboard?
Um, put the fog in the bag. So so fog being
Oh
fat,
yeah,
oils, and grease, right?
yeah.
Yeah, put that stuff in the compost bag. But
Don't pour it down the drain. Yeah.
don't pour it down the drain.
I thought you were gonna say flushable wipes like everybody else in collections.
Yeah, no, yeah, that is a big deal. I mean, we spent you know a lot of time on trying to eliminate fog out of our system. Uh,
Mm,
uh, other than that, I would say, man, when you see us, say hi, man. You see our folks
mm,
out there working, like stop and say hello.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's a good message. I always like to leave a space on the show for you to thank mentors you had along your journey. And then I want you to give a word of inspiration and motivation to your fellow wastewater system maintenance directors across the country.
Yeah, you know what, man? It takes a village, and I think it's taken a village with me because I think I probably tried my hardest to not make it work, right? But sometimes you got a good team of mentors, man, that just keep you up and give you what you need to keep going. And starting out with my first real journeyman, like I told you, DQ. Man, such an inspiration, and showing me how to be a professional, which I think really set the stage for in any success that I've had since. You know, I can't really think of a supervisor that hasn't taught me something. Um, that hasn't taken time to be a mentor to me. Yeah, there's just man, there's so many people that I take value from. I mean, it's I like to say put it in my bag, man, just like a tool bag, right? A lot of us got tool bags, and I'm always looking to hey man, what do they got over there? How are they using that tool? Man, let me put that in my bag, right? How do I? And I've never been shy at going up to somebody and I always start with a compliment. Man, I really like how you move. How do you do that, man? Can you show me, or and let me try and model some of what you're doing, or put that, add that to my game. Um, and most everybody I've approached, from that perspective has been willing to give up their time.
Yeah. Isn't
Um,
that crazy? Like we think that people are standoffish or they don't want to talk, but everybody wants to give back. Like
yeah,
you said, you present yourself in a certain way, and you leave with a compliment, then you can get what you want out of them. That's how you open them up. And I think a lot of youngsters don't necessarily know that the older generation wants to sow their seeds into them and wants to give them the game and help them not bump their head on what they bump their head on coming up. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There's I don't know. There's a saying I like to say is we know our own, right? Meaning, man, you see somebody that's hungry like you, that's trying to provide value, like you can identify that from a distance. And when you see that, man, you want to help them keep moving and help them find success. Uh,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's say I'm coming to town, I'm coming to Seattle, and I text you ahead of time. I say, Ray, where can I go to get the best burger in Seattle? Where are you going to send me?
um, so I think most people from our area would tell you probably Dick's Drive-In.
I think I heard that. Yeah, I think
Stop.
Caroline said that one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Carolina, and get a Dick's Deluxe. And I think we're almost required to say that.
It's a little handshake deal going on. Yeah.
But for me, like what I would tell you is you got to go to Red Mill Burger.
Red Mill Burger.
Red Mill Burger and get the Red Mill Deluxe, man. From
Okay.
they got one in the Finney Ridge area. They may have one. I think they have one in Magnolia too. But man, those burgers are on point for sure.
Okay. Red Mill it is. All right, Ray. Well, thanks for hopping on the podcast today. Thanks for sharing your wealth of information and knowledge with us. To all the listeners out there, make sure you share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. Ray, any final words before we get out of here?
Man, I think for anybody that's doing what I'm doing or wants to do what we're doing, man, just have good intent. Or with good intent, trying to provide value to the world, man, and the world's going to give value back to you.
Sure. How does Ray scratch his electrical lids? Weekends, nights? What are you doing? You tinkering? You building stuff?
You know what, man? It's been like I haven't really practiced in like 10 years in a real way, and so every now and then I pull something out when I need to do something around the house or provide some advice. But man, most of my days, man, if I'm not here, and this is a 24/7 job, but when I'm not here and these duties are delegated, man, I'm usually chasing my kids around out in sports, man, softball, football.
Don't get me started, man. All right, Ray. Once again, thanks for hopping on the podcast. This has been the Public Works Podcast, and thank you everybody for tuning in.
Right on.